Very warm welcome, everyone. This is the last meeting of this Toastmasters year, which started in July 2020. And we are in June 2021 now. It's been a great year. I think there were lots of challenges that we had, especially in terms of the COVID situation that came up during, it actually started in Europe around March, I would say. And actually, I have been working from home since then. So it's around 15 months I've been working from home. And I don't think anyone would have imagined that this would have happened, really. As probably in November last year, no one would have thought in their wildest dreams that the world will go through this kind of phase. But here we are, and we are still surviving. We are still having our online meetings, and it's a great credit to each and every one of us here that we are determined to continue our meetings online. So that's a great credit. And today's quote was, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." This is by Seneca. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end, right? So now there is a beginning going to come for the new Toastmasters year from July. And that beginning is coming from the end of the beginning of the 2020-21 season. So now we'll have a 2021-22 season coming from July. And very much looking forward to it. Hopefully the face-to-face meetings will start. Hopefully we can have hybrid meetings if we have people from other places attending who want to attend remotely. With that in mind, thank you all very much for a great session today. Looking forward to it, and handing over to the Toastmaster of today, Joseph Corner. Huge round of applause to Joe.
Thank you, Samesh. Good evening, everyone, and good evening and welcome guests again from Tullamore. Always great to see you guys, and hope to get over there again soon one of these days. And I've been missing a lot of the Area 9 meetings, but I hope to get back into it once exams are over and all that silliness. So tonight's meeting, we've got two speeches lined up for after our break. But before that, of course, we're going to have our table topics session. And before we get into that, I want to make a few introductions of the roles. And as I introduce people, I asked everyone a question who had a role for tonight. And our first person up is Charles, and Charles is going to be our timer. And I asked what Charles thought was the most important thing that you could say or do to support or help someone through a difficult challenge or milestone. And Charles's answer to that was that you should look at what you've already achieved. And from that, you know that you can do it. So give it your best effort and enjoy the journey. And I suppose I heard something recently that there are two things that you can have. You can have self-belief and you have confidence. Well, self-belief means you've never done it before, but you think you can do it. And confidence, of course, is you have done it before, so you know you can do it. So Charles is building on that. And I think that's very, very good advice from Charles. So Charles, on that note, would you please give us a rundown of your role as timer tonight?
Well, basically, in the first half will be topics, and if you're given a topic, you have to do we'll try to do a topic for 2 minutes, and if you're doing a follow-on, the topic is for 1 minute. And in the second half, there's going to be speeches, and I believe the two speeches are 5 to 7 minutes. I'll have my phone here with timer on it, and at 5 minutes it'll turn to green, at 6 minutes it'll turn to orange, and at 7 minutes it'll turn to red. And that's basically it. I haven't decided yet what I'll do if people go over the 2 minutes, but I'll come up with something.
Thanks, Charles. Thankfully, they are virtual meetings, so you know, whatever threats that Charles comes up with, you can take with a pinch of salt. And as in the spirit of things with Charles and most of Tullamore Toastmasters, a bit of a laugh. So thanks very much, Charles, for that. Okay, our next role I want to introduce you to is our grammarian, and that is Antoinette. And I asked the same question of Antoinette, what's the most important thing you can say or do to help someone through a difficult challenge? And Antoinette says that it would be important to be there to support and advise them, but ultimately the decision would have to be their own. And that's true. I mean, we have to be masters of our own destiny. And while you can advise people, ultimately, if they are to have control over their own life, they are the ones who have to make the final say on it. So, Antoinette, could I ask you to give us a brief description of your role tonight as grammarian, please?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So my role this evening is a grammarian. So for that purpose, I'll be paying attention to all of the members and their use of English. And I'll also be watching out for some good or nice examples of good language that's used during the meeting. I'll be keeping account on maybe unnecessary words we use. We all tend to use maybe some crutch words now and again, the as and the ums. So I'll be watching for those. I'm also going to be introducing a word of the day, and the idea is that the members try to get that word in at some stage throughout the meeting. So for this evening, the word of the day is palaver. Now this means an unnecessary or idle talk, palaver. So an example of how it could be used would be, I was late for work after my chatty friend held me up with palaver about her latest holiday. So it's unnecessary or idle chat, and I'll put it up now in a moment in the chat. So I'll report back at the end of the evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Antoinette. I think I missed out there. I think I actually used palaver while we were chatting away before the beginning of the meeting. Anyway, that can't count. Maybe that's a minus. Is that a minus one? Better not give you any ideas. Anyway, our next role for introduction is our general evaluator, and that is Francis. And I asked Francis the same question. What advice or what could you do? What advice or action can you do to help someone through a difficult challenge? And Francis says the first thing that he would do is listen, which is great. And if he felt that his experience would help them, then that's what he would talk about and how he managed his way through a similar challenge. So very good advice there. And on that note, Francis, could I ask you to give the description of your role as general evaluator tonight, please?
Well, what I will generally be doing tonight is evaluating everyone that has a role, from the president right down to the timer. So I will be evaluating you, Joe, as I will be the topics master, the timer grammarian, and the evaluators for the night. So generally that will be what I do. If we want on Zoom and in the actual event in a room, I'd also be evaluating the fortune officer and the room, and where the various, like the words sometimes don't come, the banner, if that's where it's positioned in the room. So there would be things that I can't evaluate here because we're in Zoom. So that's basically what my role is tonight.
Thank you very much, Francis. So that's pretty much all of those role introductions made. Now, it is time for our table topics session. So we need to get into that. And our topics master for tonight is our newest member, Sharon. So great to have you, Sharon. And this is only your second meeting as a member. So you're really getting into it with nice roles such as topics master. And before I introduce Sharon, or let Sharon take the virtual gavel, I asked Sharon the same thing. What's the most important that you could say or do to help someone through a difficult milestone? And Sharon's thing was, again, to listen, because how can you help someone unless you know what their problem is? And Sharon talks about the proportionality of our ears to our mouth. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth. And then any action that comes after that is from the person's needs and are not what what your own needs are. So you're putting the person first, which is exactly what you want to do with anyone that you're trying to help. So thank you very much for that, Sharon. And with that, we all know what you've got to do now, Sharon. So I'm going to hand the virtual gavel over to you. And I'm going to let you take the show for the next 35 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So this is my first time doing this, so I'm asking in advance for forgiveness. I'm going to jump straight in because I've loads of lovely new, loads of topics there for you. So without any palaver, we shall get on with tonight's proceedings. I'm going to go straight on my screen to Catherine. And Catherine, I'm going to ask you, if you were in a circus, which character would you be and why?
Thank you, Madam Topics Master. Which character would I be in the circus? Well, it's a long time since I've been to a circus. I brought the children when they were smaller and really enjoyed it. But I like what the ringleader does. You know, she introduces people and the elephants come in, she kind of whips them. And she's dressed in the red tight jacket and nice trousers and the hat on. And it is a quite, you know, glamorous job as such. I don't think I'd do the tightrope now because I'd probably get jelly knees, I think, after a while. So, but I love watching them now, and I love watching them. They're so fit when they can do hoops in the hoops and do their acrobats in the hoops and all that. I'd love to be able to do stuff like that, but I don't think I'd be that flexible. So really I'd like the part of you know, introducing the people and getting them, the children, all excited and bringing people in, encouraging more people to come in and seeing all the animals and getting them to jump and getting them to go through and entertaining everybody even. So I think that would be my favorite role anyway. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
And do we have anyone that would like to follow up? No, not seeing anyone. Okay, so I'll move on. Deirdre, I am going to come to you now, and I'm going to ask, if you could time travel, what period of time would you go to and why?
Thank you very much, Madam Topics Master. Well, you know, I think that I wouldn't go to an actual real time, because every single solitary time, unless you're born into a rich class and lucky with the particular time that you arrive there, you know, there's going to be disease and famine and death and people being jealous and envious of your wealth, or you're being forced to marry somebody you don't want to, blah, 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 and all that type of stuff. So I think I'd prefer to go into a time of fantasy. You know, I always fancied myself as when I was small, as a small child, riding around on a horse and rescuing people from burning buildings. Now, presumably I was rescuing men, but, you know, I didn't specify, but that's what I was doing, rescuing people from burning buildings and sword fighting. You know, so I'm going to totally go into an imaginary world where I'm riding around on my large white horse or whatever color horse and rescuing people, sword fighting, beating them back, winning, and, you know, presumably getting to take part in the huge banquet at the end of the day where I eat the local delicacy and sample the local wine and probably get richly rewarded for rescuing whoever I rescued from the burning building. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you. I'm going to just plug in my laptop quickly. So Joe, I'm going to hand over to you.
I definitely will go into the future. I'm not one for going through wardrobes into Narnia like our previous speaker, but no, I'd like to be in the real world and see how things have gotten on. Maybe in 100 years from now, see if Vladimir Putin is still the president of Russia, because he never seems to lose that election. And see how technology has gone on. You know, have we made a mess of the place? And also, I'd love to find out what the table topics are going to be for the next few meetings. You know, so I can have some material prepared and not be caught off the foot all the time, as I tend to be when people promise me nice questions and then throw me curved balls. But yeah, I mean, mostly just possibly if I could rig the Russian elections, that'd be something. Yeah, whatever. But I think the future is full of surprises. So I mean, one thing you're guaranteed about the future is that it's going to be full of surprises. So that's what I'd like to be, because you know, I'd be one of those people. While I do like a bit of a surprise on Christmas morning, but it'd be nice to be able to just peel a little bit of paper back and just quickly lick it and put it back as if you really didn't know what was in there. But yeah, it's the future for me. Thank you very much, Madam Topics Master.
Thank you very much. Very interesting that we're all kind of going ahead of ourselves. We're not going to where we've been already. Charles, you have a point for us.
Yeah, I'd like to go to the future, say 300 or 400 years in the future. A lot of people think Star Trek is a fictional program, but I believe it's somebody's come back in the past and tell us what the future is. So I'd love to go to the future and live when Earth is a nice piece of place and everybody doesn't have to worry about money. And yeah, go to the future, definitely.
Very good. And we'll move on to the next. And I have Samesh on my list next. Samesh, if you could do anything illegal without getting caught, what would you do?
Thank you very much, Madam Topics Master, for an interesting question. Doing illegal without getting caught. This is what we always try to do, isn't it? Whenever we are trying to do something illegal, we don't want to get caught. I think I would be like someone like Robin Hood, stealing from the poor, stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. And that's what I would do. And yes, I think that this communism and capitalism, this is always there across the world. And there is no silver bullet in terms of the solution of all these issues of social inequality in the society. The most important thing is to bring in a balance, I would say. I think neither the capitalism nor the socialism is the solution. Communism, it's in between somewhere. I think that's where the solution is. And this is what Robin Hood is trying to do. He's trying to bring in that environment in the society where everyone gets equality in terms of their living their lives. And I think this is very important. And I would say, there are a lot of situations where, for example, in the latest news that happened, it was a really kind of ghastly kind of news, which probably captured the headline for a long period of time, about someone, a mother going into a depression, and unfortunately, she's killed her own kids, which was really a very bad situation. So this brings into light, in terms of keeping the mental space in a good way, I would say. I think what happens is, so this is another thing that I would do in terms of an illegal thing, to make someone happy. Do something. I could say a lie and make another person happy.
Maybe.
And making another person happy is the most important thing. Bringing in a kind of better mental health awareness among people. And if we have to do it in a certain way which is illegal, for example, going to a place where you bring in some group of people and you do a dance or a drama or something like that, and even if it is illegal, we do that and bring in happiness in the minds of the people. So that's my answer. Thank you very much, Madam Topics Master.
Very good. Thank you so much, Samesh. Have we anyone else that would like to add to that? Helen, I see your hand is up.
Madam Topics Master, I think it must be absolutely exhilarating to rob a bank and get away with it and spend the money and have a great time. I think that must be absolute. Go and live in Lanzarote and nobody cares a hoot about you. I think it must be just wonderful and have loads of money and beach every day, teach every day, wonderful. And the money is in my pocket and nobody knows. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you. I think, Helen, that was my idea as well when I first saw it. Joe, your hand is up.
Yeah, well, once again, a bit like the future question, I'd like to break into the Kremlin and steal the results of the next presidential election. That's me, thank you.
Very good, very good. So I'm going to move on now to Antoinette. And Antoinette, my question to you is, if you could make up a school subject that doesn't already exist, what would it be and why?
Thank you, Madam Topics Master. That's a very, very interesting question. So to make up a subject that does not exist at the moment, I'd like to bring back subjects like the basics of sewing and knitting, but they're there under the guise of home economics, to be honest, but they're sort of gone with the times. And I have a few people in this house that wouldn't be able to sew a button or sew a stitch in a little rip on a piece of clothing. But for maybe a subject that doesn't exist, I think in school, I'd love to see something around the whole area of well-being and a subject about yourself and the importance of how you are as a person. It comes under a lot of guises at the moment, maybe with there's different subjects, SPHE, there's religion classes, the different areas where things fit in about yourself. But in my mind, it probably isn't as important or seen as big enough of a subject as it should be, because from an early age, we should be promoting a child's confidence, their belief in themselves, and managing that without making them, I suppose, feeling that they're the most important person in the world, in the sense we need to manage, and that they be humble and that they'd be good to other people. So maybe if we were to have the nice world that somebody mentioned earlier, where everyone would be happy and look after each other and be content, if we had something, I suppose, to try and help children and that they may grow up into the nicest possible person that they could be, well, looking out for themselves, but help everybody. So a subject like that I'd like to see. Thank you very much, Madam Topics Master.
Very good. Thank you, Antoinette. Is there anybody that would like to follow on that? Any hands? Siobhan.
Thank you very much, Madam Topics Master. The subject that I would love to introduce to the curriculum and expand it across different education systems is dance. Now, dance is on the curriculum. It's there under PE, but it's not explored very much by lots of schools. And the late Ken Robinson, one of the world's most famous educationists, he pointed out that there's the same hierarchy of subjects in education systems across the world, and they are numeracy, literacy, and all of that academic stuff. But since about Christmas this year, we've been going out in our school every day, spending at least 40 minutes outdoors dancing. And you might say, well, not everybody can dance, and some people don't like dancing, but I disagree. I think everybody can move. Everybody can move to music. Everybody has a body. And the amount of different areas that we have been able to cover just by moving our bodies, there's so much involved in it. There's concentration, there's memory, there's coordination. You can integrate so many different subjects, maths, SESE, SPHE, all of these subjects. Even you can do it in English, you can do it in Irish, you can do it in French, you can do it in whatever language you want. But it's phenomenal when you just, I suppose, bring a little bit of creativity to it. but I think we all have a body. We all can move in some capacity. So why not have dance more to the fore on the curriculum? Thank you.
Wow, I totally agree with you. We were doing the hacker today to get moving. Deirdre, you have your hands up there.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Topics Master. I think excellent points from our two previous speakers, and I would build on a little bit onto them and onto the current curriculum and maybe even social skills. But I think there should be more role play. Designed role play. You know, school can be a place terribly traumatic for people who are going for the first time. They're meeting people and they're all fighting for their place. And there's a lot of bitchiness and anger and annoyance, and a lot of people feel bullied. So I think it's just, you know, some sort of a role play type thing where people will go up and practice how to deal with bullies. You know, so somebody says something mean to you, about your family, or about whatever, and you are taught, you handle it back to them. And it's under guided. Obviously it'd have to be pretty well guided, just in case somebody got really actually carried out the bullying through the role play, but something carefully done. And that way people would have practical experience of how to handle mean people, how to maybe develop your confidence early, because a lot of progress that people make is to do with confidence and having confidence and being able to put yourself forward and liking and loving yourself. I'm not sure what that was. Thank you, Madam Topics Master.
That was me
Very
bonging.
good. That's actually a program they have in Sweden called SMART in schools, and it's really is very effective. Okay, so we are moving on then to Francis. Francis, I have a question for you. Francis, what was the worst advice you were ever given?
The worst advice that I was ever given. I think perhaps the biggest thing for me is I was never given much advice. A lot of my life was through experience and mistakes. I don't think anyone really sat down. People sat down and helped me in relation to what I was doing, but didn't particularly advise me. Now I even go back to, we say, my consultant neurologist and my neurosurgeon. No one advised me how to live, but they wanted me to tell them how I lived. So I've seen that with life. People encourage you to do different things once you're doing them yourself. And they're there for you if things go wrong. But they don't necessarily offer you guidance, but they don't give you advice that changes your path. So I've never really experienced an advice that changed my life. Like, I've had plenty of mistakes, but I've changed my own life. No one really stepped in and lifted me up, sat me down and said, right, now do this, now do that. Now I'm not devaluing people because people were there for me, but I had to make my own decisions myself, from my own mistakes, from my own beliefs, whatever. So I wouldn't say I got any bad advice, but I can't really remember anyone giving me good, solid advice that changed my life. Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you. Very good. Is anyone want to follow up with that? Helen, your hand is up there.
Madam Topics Master, I'm just thinking of a few sentences. One was, never let anyone annoy you. Don't take offense. And if they do, forgive them. And the other one was, I remember when I was in Dublin, I was forever at my ear. And my uncle said to me, never put anything bigger than your elbow into your ear. And it took me a long time to figure it out. He didn't say it quite straight to me. Another one, and I think they're very good at giving what I call Oh, thank you. That's number one. I'm 1 minute gone, have I?
No, no, fair ahead.
40 minutes. Thank you. Give me 20 more seconds. Thank you. My aunt always said, there's always good in the worst of us, and there's always bad in the best of us, and look for it. So I like all of those kind of phrases. They do push you in certain directions. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, very good. There's some sound advice in there. I like the elbow in the ear particularly. Charles, we'll come to you if we may. Charles, if you could be any age, what age would you choose to be and why?
I have to time myself now. The age I'm at now, like, it's a perfect age. I'm enjoying life. I'm going to Toastmasters and meeting new people. Hopefully when the lockdown's over, I'll be out partying and celebrating the liberation. It'd be like VE Day back in the Second World War. So at the present time, I would have to say, the age I am now is the perfect age, because there's no point looking back because you can't go backwards, and no point looking forward because it'll be there soon enough. So yes, definitely, the age I'm at the moment is the perfect age for me.
Very good. That's a great answer. Francis.
Yeah. The age that I would like to be is the age that I become a teenager. For me, I dream of that. Being a 6-foot teenager, having my eyes set on the world, what I was going to achieve, and my first date. These were all things that if I could just be that teenager with an outlook, I'm going to do my best at school, which was a long way from my mind when I was a teenager. Just to have that second life in secondary school and to have that 1 or 2 dates, to experience something that I never experienced in my teenage life. Those are the years that I missed. And that is what I want most. And it will never be mine again. Thank you.
Oh, that's very honest of you and very touching, Francis. Helen, your hand is up.
The only world Toastmaster came from Claire, and her winning speech was, first line, I am 39 and proud of it. How many here are willing to admit their age on the world stage? I'd say very few. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, from a 46-year-old topics master. Have we time for more? How are we doing for time? Yeah, we're good. Okay, so I'm going to move to Siobhan. Yeah, you're still there. I was just checking. Siobhan, if you had to be from a different country to the one that you were born to, where would you come from?
What an interesting topic, Madam Topics Master. But I think this is quite easy for me. If I was to be from any other country, I would love to be from Japan, because I would love to be living in Japan again. I would love to have the opportunity to be back there. I did live in Japan for 3 years. And when I went there first, I wasn't quite sure if I could acclimatize, if I could get used to the culture, if I could learn any of the language, because it's very, very hard when you're an adult and you have to start at the beginning when you know nothing of the language, of the culture. But I have to say, by the time it came to the end of my 3rd year there, it was a real dilemma whether to go or to stay. And I knew that if I didn't go at that stage, that was it. I probably would be staying for a long, long time. I just loved Japan. I loved the people. I loved the food. I loved the language when I began to learn it. And I loved their countryside. I loved their mountains. I loved their baths. I love so much about their culture if I was to be born in any country. And I think I did empathize with the people. I fitted in. Our personalities, I think, were similar. Yes, I would love to be Japanese. Thank you.
I only wish now I had a word to impress you all in Japanese to say well done, Siobhan. Have we any follow-up from that question? Nobody else wants to chip in. Okay, so we'll move to Joe for the next topic, if we can. Joe, what is your favorite time of the day?
I'm so glad that you gave me that question, because when you said we're going to stay with Joe for, and then you paused, and I thought it was going to be for the next 5 questions. So thankfully, just the one. And also because Ireland is just the best place in the world, I couldn't think of another country to come from. Although after I thought about it, I thought there's one maybe. But what's my favorite time of the day? It's the morning. I was never a morning person. I'm a bit of a night owl, and my brain tends to kick into overdrive around about 11 o'clock and then doesn't really want to sleep until about 1 in the morning. But now that I'm remote working, I tend to get up at 6-ish and get a few hours of work done before anyone else is up, and I just find that I've really enjoyed that. I've found that the mornings can be very productive, and there is what is he? He's a first generation American, I think Vietnamese. He's not a neurologist, but he does a lot of work with memory and that sort of thing. And his name is Jim Quick. Well worth a look at some of his stuff on YouTube. And he says that you should win the first hour of the day. So get the bulk of your work done in that first hour that you're up. Now, it doesn't have to be batch work or that sort of thing, but just even organizing your day, or all that important stuff, getting yourself ready for the rest of the day. But if he says if you win the first hour of the day, you will remain productive because you'll see the rewards of it immediately and keep going. But from a physical point of view, and going to what was my favorite age, I think I really would love to go back to 33 because I was running marathon, that sort of stuff. I'd love to be doing that again. And it's not that I can't from a physical point of view. It's just from a time point of view. I wish there was more time so I could go out and train and that sort of thing. But the best time of the day I always felt for training was the afternoon, and usually before dinner, so about 5 o'clock. And it's when your body is at its peak temperature, it's most flexible, and you just get the most out of it, like getting the most out of your 2 minutes when you have a subject that you actually do know something about and an answer to a topic off the cuff. So on that note, I will hand back to you. Thank you, Madam Topics Master.
Thank you, Joe. Any follow-up on that? No, have we time for one more, or?
We've time for, yeah, definitely one more, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to move to Anna, and the question that I'm going to ask Anna is, Anna, what is your favorite tradition?
Very much, Madam Topics Master. I must say we're in luck because 2 seconds ago there was a child screaming right next to me. Yes, my favorite tradition, actually, to be perfectly honest with you, there is many traditions that I thoroughly enjoy, and they are mostly Polish. We are, as a nation, very set in our traditions and very set in kind of holding on to what our ancestors, it sounds very ancient, but to what our grandmothers and grandfathers would have done in many different circumstances. So for example, the tradition that I like the most, I suppose, would be what we eat for Christmas. So it is completely different to what people in Ireland eat, and in most countries of the world, I suppose. In most countries of the world. And what it is pierogi, and it is a beetroot soup. And I know it might sound horrific when you hear it, beetroot soup. I mean, why would you? But I'm telling you, it is actually really tasty. And we eat it with small kind of dumplings with cabbage and mushrooms inside them, which are obviously cooked before they're stuffed into the dumplings. And they are a very specific flavor. It's for a different palate, I suppose. And many people in Ireland don't actually have that palate. I know my husband hates anything pickled, anything like cabbage or cucumbers, gherkins, I suppose, pickles, nothing. He just hates it. But a lot of people that I would have met in Ireland still do have that palate as well. So I'm sure they would enjoy it too. So yes, the food that we eat at Christmas is one of the most important traditions that I like, but also Easter. We have much more happening around Easter, and I really, really do enjoy it. And since I can see my time coming to an end, thank you very much, Madam Topics Master. It's been entirely enjoyable, this session.
Thank you, Anna. That's excellent. And I'm feeling quite hungry, even though I've had my dinner already. Anybody would like to follow up? Okay, so we'll move on, and I'm going to come to Helen. And Helen, my question for you is, how important is homework?
Helen, you need to unmute.
You've unmuted again, Helen.
Sorry, Madam Toastmaster. How important is homework? I know there is two very big arguments in favor of and in favor of no homework. The child is working from 9:30 to 3 every day. In secondary school, it can be 9 o'clock to 4, or even look further. And to me, there's such an amount of work going on in there to actually internalize it and make it your own. I do think homework is important. And I do think it's important that even parents get in on the homework with the child, because they find out what she's doing or what the child is doing. On the other side, you could say that if they've been working all day long and then they're working all night long, it shouldn't be. It should be about maybe an hour or so help for a lifetime, because sometimes some children don't internalize all that goes on in the classroom, and parents can add to it. I think in the early stages, like children are starting to read and starting to do all kinds of things, and it's probably important that they do some little work, not too much. I know that from my listening to my grannies, she is on junior infants, and she comes home from school every evening, and from the beginning to the end, every single thing that she ever said all day long, and the tone and how she said it, is repeated in the room. And she puts her dolls up against the wall, or they're all up on seats, and the grandmother and the mother and the sister, they have to listen to the teacher, everything the teacher said all day long. Do you know the sound? Do you know the sound? Well, I'll give you a clue. And it goes on and on and on. Do you know the planets? From junior infant. So she's wired with every single thing that goes on in the classroom. Absolutely everything. And with every child. So I think there are two sides to it. Sometimes they overwork, sometimes they don't work. Madam Topics Master.
Thank you. And after homeschooling 5 children this year, I have had enough of homework officially, especially after teaching my son that Pluto was still a planet. So we're going to move on. Have we time for any more? Or
We're just about ready for the break, but let's sneak in another quick one.
okay,
Just one
so
more.
is Catherine still there? The video's off, but if
Yeah,
Catherine...
I'm still here.
Okay, so we're back to you, Catherine. Catherine, what is more important, your sense of taste or your sense of smell?
Right. Thank you, Madam Topics Master. Apologies about that. I was on the move. So my sense of taste or my sense of smell? Okay. Well, I do love to taste my food, but I know I take it for granted. As in sometimes if I'm just hungry, I just wolf it down. But my sense of smell, I love walking into even Lidl or Aldi and they have the bread near the doorway and the smell of it is lovely. And it just makes me want to go over there and get some of that in the trolley. But I think it is nice to, and also the sense of your sight as well is so important, you know. But if I were to choose between smell or taste, isn't it? Yeah, I do think to taste your food is great because you know, it helps you really enjoy it. I'm the only one that can actually smell in my house, funny, because my husband has no sense of smell. And my 2 boys are the same. They don't really have a great sense of smell. So I do think the taste though is great to be able to taste your food and taste a nice bowl of soup or a nice dinner and taste a nice dessert, ice cream. It is, you know, it is lovely. It is a gift now to be able to have a nice sense of taste and really enjoy your food. So that's my answer. Thank you, Madam Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Catherine. I was coming to the supermarket with you for a minute. Joe?
Yeah, I'd have to go with Catherine, a sense of taste, although that really goes against the advice of Heston Blumenthal, who would maintain that we eat with all of our 5 senses, and he's done various experiments to prove that. I mean, playing crunchy sounds while you're eating a bag of crisps make the crisps taste crispier. And of course, the color of our food we do eat with our eyes. And certainly it's hard to separate smell from taste. And can't argue with that one really. But yeah, God, if you lost the sense of taste, what would be the point of living? I love my food. So, and I'm not one of these people who eats because I have to eat. I eat because I enjoy eating, and I enjoy what I eat. So I spend the time and learn a few tricks in the kitchen. So thank you, Madam Topics Master, and I think we will leave it at that. And thank you very much for fantastic, varied topics. And a few people got 2 topics there, so very well done. And it was great to have that many topics, and there was plenty of interest and follow up. So we will adjourn for let's say we'll give ourselves 5 minutes. So if we can be back somewhere between around well, just before 9:15. Is that okay with everyone? So yeah, if you can be back here a couple of minutes before 9:15, get a cup of tea. All right, we'll see you then. And oh, do I have to get rid of that thing as well? No, sorry, I don't have to okay that one. I am cracking on with the second part of the meeting, which are our prepared speeches. and we have two prepared speeches. And our first speech is from Anna Howard. And Anna Howard's speech is going to be evaluated by Samesh tonight. And it's an effective coaching 2-2. So Samesh, could you give us a brief summary of the objectives for Anna's speech, please?
Yes, Mr. Toastmaster. Anna is giving a speech from Effective Coaching Path, Level 2, Project 2, Understanding Your Communication Style. This project focuses on recognizing your preferred communication style and understanding how your style impacts your interactions with others. And the purpose of this project is to learn about different communication styles and identify your primary style. So all the best, Anna.
Thank you very much, Samesh. So Anna, with a speech entitled Analyze Me, the speech entitled Analyze Me, Anna Howard.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, dear Charles and Catherine. It's early morning, too early. The clock hasn't even struck 6 o'clock. My 2-year-old, however, is not bothered by such silly notions as time. Oh no, he rises with the crack of dawn, like a rooster. He has recently learned to tiptoe past our room straight into the kitchen to steal a single bite out of 5 different apples, no doubt. They're funny creatures, toddlers. 1 minute, they're the most adorable angels on earth, and the next, they turn into little devils. But that's the burden and beauty of parenthood, isn't it? Let's look back at those 6 o'clock apples. I walk into the kitchen one morning, and the first thing I see is an apple with a single bite taken out of it. I move further into the kitchen, start doing my jobs, and then I realize that there is another apple on the counter with another bite taken out of it. And then I find another, and another, and another. What do I feel? Am I angry? Am I frustrated? Do I ignore it and focus on what to do with all those apples instead? My patience is being tested. I know this much. But I get over it. I'm gonna make an apple crumble for dessert, I decide. And then I walk into the sitting room. And I realize that the angel of a toddler, my son, has found 2 bags of lentils in the cupboard and decided to rain them all over the floor. Since it's not even 6 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't take me long to get angry. Frustrated even. I want to scream. I can't even begin to think about cleaning all this mess. And then I step on some of those lentils. Ouch! I scream. I feel every one of those tiny little grains digging into my skin. That's it. I've had enough. Mihal! I scream. I'm not even sure what I'm going to say next. Certainly no palaver will do. What does one say to a child who's been having the time of their life doing the one thing you're going to give out to them about? So I just storm out of the room and I count to 10 and 20. By the time I get to 30, I finally managed to calm myself down and realize that my reaction was completely inappropriate. But our feelings are forces, and if they can't live inside of us, they need to come out. So I approach my toddler. I'm sorry, I screamed. I say, I was having a hard time, and I am better now. It's never your fault when I yell. I'm working on staying calm when I have my big feelings. Nothing you do or say can ever change how much I love you. Children are different from adults in that their nervous systems are not yet fully developed, and they often communicate in the only way they know how, by throwing tantrums, as we call them. They are simply not able to regulate their emotions and feelings.
and that's okay. It's actually quite healthy. Tantrums don't mean that the child is a bad person, that they're rude or selfish. They don't mean that there is something wrong with the child or something wrong with our parenting. Most of the time, tantrums are an expression of a strong feeling or an emotion, and getting upset with the child is the least helpful thing you can do. According to psychiatrists, shutting down tantrums in a harsh way may result in compliance in childhood, but in adulthood, it can lead to codependence. Therefore, it is crucial how we respond, and for me, it's still something I am learning to communicate properly. But let me tell you another story. My husband and I have just had a baby. We haven't had much sleep. Between nappies, feeding, and looking after our toddler, we are both just exhausted. An argument ensues. I don't even remember what the issue is. We're probably talking palaver. But I'm so tired that I just keep screaming and dragging out to the surface issues that have been long solved and long forgotten. But at some point I stop and start wondering how to get on the same page with my husband. After all, we're both in this together, and arguing about pointless things is simply that, pointless. I decide to reach out. I say something along the lines of, we are both feeling depleted. We have different ways of coping, which is why our behaviors are at odds. Let's come back to what joins us. We're both stressed. We're both trying our best and also want to do better. It's really hard to be an adult right now. Let's keep reminding each other of these things. Now, it's not magic and all our problems don't suddenly disappear because we've acknowledged them, but I think it's a step in the right direction. How we react to stress can differ significantly. Some of us shut down, others reach out. There are those of us who immediately start to contemplate the situation and those who throw themselves into action. We are all different, and that's okay. It's how we deal with those differences that matters. Sometimes how we communicate with others has so much more to do with how we listen and what we actually hear from other people than what we think we have to say ourselves. Our emotions are key to the way we communicate with others. They tell us what we want, what we value, what we need. They make us stronger. We all experience big feelings, adults as much as children. It's essential to understand that feelings are safe, and acknowledging and facing them head on is what makes us communicate successfully with each other. Some of you might think they have it down to a T, all figured out, but for me, it is still a learning process. Hopefully, one day I will become the perfect communicator I've created in my head, but for now, I am who I am, and that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And Charles, may I ask what time do we have for Anna there?
7:17.
7:17, very good. And Charles, can you give us 1 minute on the clock so people can write their personal messages to Anna, please?
Okay, no problem. Okay, that's it. That's a minute.
Thanks, Charles. Now, to move on, we have our second speaker ready, Helen. And Helen, can you, I forgot to do this with Anna. Helen, can you see Charles, our timer? Are you there, Helen? Helen, can you hear me?
Yes,
All right, okay. Can you see Charles?
yes.
Okay, perfect. So our second speaker is Helen, and with a speech evaluator, Siobhan Fitzgerald. Siobhan, would you be able to give us the objectives of Helen's speech, please?
Sure. Helen's speech is from the presentation Mastery Pathway, Understanding Your Communication Style. And her objectives are to share communication style and its impact on professional and personal relationships, and to avoid reporting on the content of this project. The title of Helen's speech is My Style.
Thank you, Siobhan. So with a speech entitled My Style, we have Helen Keenan, the speech entitled My Style, Helen Keenan.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, how do I know, or does anybody know, how their communication comes across to other people? Either I have no idea what way I am seen or heard. And I wonder what way I'm perceived in personal relationships, in small groups, in larger groups, and how my impacts on other people. So I decided, in order to fulfill the objectives of this project, I would run a little survey for myself. So I rang a friend of almost 50 years. She has to know a thing or two about me. When I asked the first question, she was a little bit perplexed. She found it awkward. And then she started talking. Well, she said I was always very, very strong in my views, confident and forthright. I was totally honest with her, if not to the point of blunt. There was an old saying, she said, that I wouldn't put a tooth in it. And it serves me well. And she said, I didn't change with age. Her husband said that I spoke extremely clearly. I always listened attentively and had strong views on matters that were important, and that I expressed my thoughts with conviction. He concluded I would never shy away from a good argument. Number two, all phone calls lasted for about 1 hour. Number two felt that I was very direct, didactic, and had clear style of communication. She added that I was well read, studious, and loved to play the devil's advocate. In fact, I loved stirring things up, she said. The word strong and loved the good argument appeared again. Number three gave me 4 words. Direct, spoke with great clarity, and I always listened and was very engaging. Number 4, a 94-year-old. She'd know something. And she said I was honest, upright, and what you see is what you get. And always very direct. So the same words kept appearing to me. Then I went to my superior, my boss. They'd certainly know something. And I asked for 4 words. He found it difficult, but he came up with impish, didactic, full of beans, and works my brain overtime, and very playful. There you are. Then I decided I'd go to my family members. They'd certainly know how I communicate with them. They said I spoke always with great clarity, had always very strong views, and was intelligent. Thank you, said I. Then I asked all of the 5 for my impact on them. I found that one difficult, but it ranged from leaving them feeling happy, affirmed, valued, uplifted, close, and good for the time we shared. One sent me a litany of responses. They were interesting. They felt challenged to be more relevant or to be a better person. They felt trusted and energized and motivated. One said, out of the whole 6, I had no impact on them at all, and I didn't value their opinion. So there you are, different folks, different strokes. The gurus tell us that there are 5 communication styles. Valamet came up with the 5 basic ones, and he said number 1 was assertive, that this was the most effective style of communicating. This style is confident, and confident very much in their convictions. They seek compromise through active listening, and they tend to have high esteem. Number 2 is aggressive. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd say you've all met this one in your workplace, maybe in your home, and certainly in the community. They're hostile, threatening, want to win at all costs. They won't listen to anyone. Their tone of delivery is harsh, and people feel very intimidated with them. They are notoriously hard to work with. Number 3 are passive. They're very submissive. And they're a real people pleaser. They let others lead the way just because they find it difficult to express themselves and their views are hardly heard. The 4th one is passive aggressive. Last 2 groups, passive, aggressive. What are they like? They're very quiet on the surface for a long time, and at the same time are building resentment and anger, and it bubbles up in them, and it can be seen through sarcasm, being patronizing, being smart, with ugly sayings, and just not being a nice person. This style is very toxic and very hard to work with. The 5th one is manipulative. Now, I had an aunt, and she could twist your arm around so that you wouldn't dare argue with her. She was incredible. And I think we all know this type. The type, they never say what they mean. They manage to get their way without you even realizing it. Now, Mr. Toastmaster, I need an evaluation from Toastmasters to know exactly what my communication style is and my impact on you. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Well, you'll certainly get one evaluation tonight, and if you want more to follow, we'll sort something out for you. Can I ask what was Helen's time on that speech, please?
8 minutes.
8 minutes. Ooh. It's a Anyway, it was all good stuff. And also, can we have another minute there just for people to send their own personal feedback to Helen?
As a minute.
Thanks, Charles. God, that minute flies by very quickly. And yeah, I always struggle to give feedback within the minute. So I hope I'm not the only one, because that would just make me feel bad if it was. Now, for our next part of the meeting, we're going to go and have a look at some of that evaluation. And for our first speaker, we had Anna Howard, and her evaluator was Sumesh Kumar. So Sumesh, can we have your version of events for Anna's speech, please?
Sure, Toastmaster Joe. Hello, Toastmasters, and especially Anna. Excellent speech, Anna. This was level 2 project 2, understanding your communication style. And the purpose of this speech was for you to help us understand what your communication style is. What a wonderful way of explaining that by telling us how you're communicating to your 2-year-old toddler. Amazing. The evaluations have to be done on 3 different aspects: the content of the speech, the delivery of the speech, and the transitions between the speech. And everything was perfect, I would say. One of the things that you have in abundance, Anna, is in terms of how you can bring in emotion and variety in your vocal language. It really captivates the audience. The way you convey each and every incident that has happened. For example, how you told the toddler ate 5 different apples, and you told about the lentils falling, and each and every explanation that you were giving. It was bringing us with you on your story. And this is really a great way of bringing the audience together in your journey. Since the beginning, since the icebreaker, the speech that you have done, and until now, all the speeches have been exceedingly well. One of the points that I could say is there was no palaver at all in your speech. So congratulations on that. In terms of a small recommendation that I could give is, when you were beginning your speech, you had a lot of emotion in your language, a lot of variety in your language. In the second part of the speech, when it came to explaining the theory, it started sounding as if you somehow lost that, that connection that you had in the beginning with us. A little bit of connection was lost there. But I can understand why it happened, because there was a lot of theory going on there. And when we have theory, to bring in some kind of connection is difficult. So that would be the challenge that I'll bring to you, that if you're saying some theory, try and still connect with the audience. And I think it's a great challenge for you. So thank you very much, Anna, and we look forward to hearing all your speeches. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sumesh. Charles, what time do we have for Samesh's evaluation, please?
2:46.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Charles. And if I can go now to Siobhan. Siobhan was the evaluator for Helen's speech. Siobhan, are you ready to go? I know it's only been a few minutes since Samesh started. Are you okay to go?
I am. I'm ready to
Okay,
go. My
perfect.
Wi-Fi isn't great. I'm in a second location, but hopefully it'll hold out.
Right, okay. Listen, Siobhan, if you can give us your evaluation there of Helen's speech, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. So Helen said she needs an evaluation from Toastmasters now about her communication style. Well, no pressure there, Helen. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. So Helen opened her speech tonight with a very thought-provoking question. How can any of us have any idea how we are coming across to others in terms of communication? And I would imagine that this is a question that has crossed all of our minds at some stage as Toastmasters, because if we're not connecting with the audience, then what's it all about? I thought it was very vulnerable of Helen to conduct the research that she conducted and to carry out a survey, phone calls to 5 people I counted, excluding her family members, to find out what they thought about her communication style. And Helen, I have to say that as an evaluator, in terms of your presentation tonight, I would definitely have to agree with those who said that you speak clearly, that you express your thoughts, that you listen attentively. That would be my experience of you, that you're well read, that you're very direct, you're very engaging. And didactic, I think, is a very interesting one. But when I think in terms of the pressure you're putting under me as an evaluator tonight, perhaps that is true. I like, and I can also agree with the term impish. And I love that expression that somebody offered to you, that you work my brain overtime, and you're very playful, honest, and I would add vulnerable there. I loved the way you started your presentation with your own personal story and your own personal research. And then, as if to consolidate the ideas that you had there, and in a very persuasive way, you moved from the personal story to guru wisdom, which is a really good approach, educating us further about the 5 styles of communication. So Helen, overall, I love your pace, your passion, your gestures are just fantastic. You speak with your hands when you were talking about bubbling up. So I would say, Helen, your communication style is definitely all of the above. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Siobhan. And Charles, can we have the time for Siobhan's evaluation there?
2:44.
Wow, okay. There's like a second or two in it between Siobhan and Samesh. Is this some sort of cartel going on, I wonder? Anyway, we will move on. Thank you very much, everyone who took part. And so we've come to the near end of the meeting where we're going to get reports from our last 2 role holders for the evening. And first of all, I'm going to call upon our grammarian, and that is Antoinette. So Antoinette, can you give us your report for the evening?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Now, the word of the day, palaver, that was used, I've counted about 5 times, which was fantastic. Joe and Sharon got it in. Anna, you got it in twice in your speech. And Samesh got it in also. So well done to everybody to get the word of the day in. Overall, we hadn't too many crutch words, but I did notice the and the and the well, and you know, some of the times. But overall, we're doing our best to avoid these words, myself included. Some nice phrases and interesting words that were used tonight. We had interesting fantasy world, like a large white horse and sword fighting. We were rigging the Russian elections and breaking into the Kremlin. And then we had some lovely thoughts about stealing from the rich, giving to the poor, and making people happy. So we had a wide variety of nice phrases. We had some sayings like to never let anyone annoy you, and to don't take offense. And if you do, to forgive someone, which was lovely, or to always look for the good in the worst of people. And there'll be some bad maybe in the best of us, but to look out for it. So we had some lovely sayings. And another nice thought was the age I am now is the perfect age. I thought that was lovely, and that could apply to all of us. And how nice to be happy with how you are right now, and not to be looking ahead or wanting to be something else, because all we have really is now. So I thought that was lovely. Then we had thoughts like to dream of being a 6-foot teenager. I thought that was lovely. I just imagine this 6-foot teenager getting ready to go and do it all again. And wouldn't we all like a bit of that, to go back for a couple of nights out again, like we were getting described to us. Another nice, honest assessment was, I'm 39 and proud of it. I thought that was lovely, and I would love to be Japanese. So we got real kind of honest thoughts from people. And a lovely descriptive way then of describing the early morning work-wise, which I thought was fantastic, was to win the first hour of the day. And I really think that is something that I could certainly apply anyway. A lovely way of looking at the early morning, win the first hour of the day. So overall, from the grammarian point of view, it was a very interesting meeting. I'm glad to say that the meeting wasn't delayed with any idle chat or palaver. It all went very smoothly. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Antoinette. And on that note, there were quite a few so's from me. I might have to just put my hand up and admit that one. I did forget that when I introduced Samesh and Siobhan, they both added their tuppence worth on my question of what is the most important thing that you can do to help someone through a challenging milestone or a situation. And Samesh came back that perseverance and persistence through the challenge, and to always remember to ask for support if you need it, and then your success is assured if you do all of that. And Siobhan decided to give words of encouragement by saying to that person that you're stronger than you think you are, and if you need me, I'm here. So it's always good to know someone's got your back, even if you are a He-Man or Superman. Finally, I'm going to call on our general evaluator, Francis Keenan, to give his opinion of how the entire meeting went. And Francis, if you can unmute there and give us your general evaluation, please.
Thanks, Joe. It was a very, very good meeting, very well organized and very smoothly ran. Our president opened with remarks which were well organized and meaningful. I liked his quote when he said, every new beginning comes from a new beginning's end. And you yourself, Joe, then directed our attention to the agenda before then introducing each member who had a role. You smoothly moved through the meeting in an organized way. And on one occasion, you did notice that there was background noise, and you brought that to our attention as well. I'm not sure if I was one of the people, because there was a lot of activity happening outside the door, but I promptly muted myself. But it was good that you got that in there. Our topics master, Sharon, I have to say, they're great topics. And you got the word of the day in straight away. You hit us with that from the very first moment. The topics were very well formed, and the way you distributed and varied them enhanced the interest of our audience. You have these are new glasses, and I'm looking under and over. Because that you aroused a definite interest in. There were a few times there were one or more. There was one or two or more add-ons. And we would kind of recommend that there should only be 2 add-ons to each topic. But it was the interest that you aroused that got people so interested that just wanted to get in on them. But otherwise, I have to say that there were excellent topics and they suited our audience tonight, and very thought-provoking and very well done. Very, very well done for your first time as a topics master. Our timer, Charles, you explained your role very well. But I think it would, you really needed a bell there to get our attention that we're over time. And I think trying to read a mobile phone alone is difficult. Even if you had cards, it would be much better. Because I was really unaware myself when I was talking of the phone, because you'd be more focused on your words rather than glancing to see what's happening on the phone. So I would suggest in the future using cards and certainly having some kind of bell to let us know if we're gone over time. But all in all, you give great reports. They were accurate, and I commend you for that. Our grammarian, Antoinette, I have to compliment you on the word chosen because it was very meaningful. And it meant, you know, it's the kind of thing that we could say about a lot of things. Well, I would hope that such a thing doesn't happen in Toastmasters, and I'm quite sure there's very little of it. You explained your role and made us aware through your own attitude, the colorful, meaningful language. And you did it in a playful way. So you've done your grammarian excellent, absolutely excellent. And it was a joy to see what we had said during the night. Both evaluators cited the manual project and objectives. Samash discussed the strong points, and he had about 7 strong points. He offered helpful feedback when he said a lot of emotion was lost in the second half of the meeting, and the emotion that was there in the first half. And he gave a recommendation in relation to how to manage that. He also divided the speech into 3 parts and spoke about the speech in 3 parts. And I think that was good. Siobhan, on the other hand, then focused a lot in used words in relation to strong points. And they were very thought-provoking. She talked about Helen's introducing as being thought-provoking, a thought-provoking question, and talked about her talking clearly, listening, attentive, playful, pace, position. Unusual. I don't believe I heard a recommendation from Siobhan. I know now Helen is perfect, but there was no, she's not that perfect. And I didn't hear any recommendation. So if there was one little fault I could find with Siobhan's evaluation, that is it. So I think it was a great meeting. I think all the people performed the roles very well, from the president right down to the timer. And I would have to say, well worth listening to, again, if it's recorded, of course. And sorry now, Samash, I'm sure has done that. So, well done, everyone. And it was great being general evaluator tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. You've burst my bubble. I thought there were perfect people in the world. Me being one of them, of course.
I thought it was too.
So thank you everyone for taking part tonight, and it's been an absolute joy. And I'm looking out, and it's still light. And wow, I might actually be able to get some more work done out in the garden when we're finished. Well, that's me finished for the evening. I'm going to hand you back to our president, Samash. And Samash, there's the virtual gavel for you. Thank you very much for the loan of it.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the evening, Joseph Connor, for conducting this meeting so professionally from the beginning to the end. And thank you very much to each and everyone here who have actively participated in this meeting. Without each and every one of us, the meeting cannot take place. So it's a huge round of applause to each and everyone here that we have actively participated. Thank you so much. as I said in the beginning, when we started this meeting, this is the last meeting of the 2020-2021 session. And from July, we'll have the new committee that is driving Athlone Toastmasters, and across all the Toastmasters world, all the clubs, this is going to happen from 1st of July. There'll be a new committee who drive the club. And I would like to give a huge round of applause to Anna Howard for volunteering to take up our VP education role. Thank you very much, Anna. And looking forward to working with you in terms of having great agendas next year and having lots and lots of people joining Athlone Toastmasters. So many people joining Toastmasters that we need to have another second Athlone Toastmasters club. And envisioning that we have 60 people. We are always thinking about this, that we have 60 people here and we have 30 people, one Athlone Toastmasters 1, Athlone Toastmasters 2, having another 30 people. Let's have that vision and let's work together to attain that vision. With that, I would like to conclude the meeting and thank you all so much for joining today. It's been a great pleasure. Thank you.
I would like to add something in there. I'd like to thank Samesh for all the hard work he did this year and for all the help he gave me even personally, trying to get online and couldn't find it and all the rest of it. And I know I'm not that perfect, Francis. So I have to say, Samesh, well done to all the work and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Helen. I really appreciate your enthusiasm. You know, you're coming from a generation that is before us and not so technologically friendly, and still you're hanging in there, you're learning the technology. So hats off to you, Helen. Thank you so much for being such an inspiration. Thank you.
I hope, Anna, you realize what you're getting yourself into.
I can only